worldwide search continues as John Aloisi reportedly knocks back an offer to head west. The Glory Girls off to a winning start in the dub, and Bayswater City all but set for the knockouts of the Australian Championship. Welcome to the Far Post Perth, powered by ID Athletic. Download the latest football catalogue, idathletic.com, and Trio Homes. Great to have the support of Dino Djurbic and the team at Trio Homes. Another big episode after the week that was. Blayne Treadgold is my name. Going around the table, Neil Sherwin's with us. Welcome.
Thanks.
Jaxon Bassett.
Good to be here again.
And James Renton's back on board with us after a, exclusive meeting. You're getting involved in these exclusive meetings, mate, aren't you?
Apparently, yeah.
There you go. Let's get started the only way we know how. We'll go around the table, and it is our good, our bad, and our ugly. Let's start with Neil Sherwin. What's been good, mate?
Very little. Very little this week. Not much that I could pick out. It was a tough one in terms of what happened at the weekend. But I did, luckily this afternoon, there was something that I thought was good, and it was the Wellington Phoenix video of Carlo Armiento and his recovery from cancer. 9-minute video just talking about how he went through it in the last year and a half, and a very good message just of hope for people that may be going through something similar. It was a bit annoying in it that to hear that Brisbane Roar decided not to renew his contract while he was going through treatment for it because it was a non-football injury in terms of insurance and that, and not having an obligation to him. So the PFA looked after him, which was really good. And he did disappear for a while, and people were wondering, he'd fallen off the radar, and a pretty valid reason as to why. So I know we spoke last week about him scoring goals against his two ex-employees in Glory in Brisbane, and he said it himself. It's the first time recently that he's been able to play 90 minutes consecutively in his career. So he's obviously over it and recovered, and it's a good thing for many people who are going through something similar.
I've got to admit it didn't flag with me. I don't think I saw this video today and I was like, I didn't know that he was going through those.
No one did. That's
issues.
The whole.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
yeah,
all right,
the whole thing.
Right, okay. So I'm not the only one. Sorry.
Nobody did, and he said that it was people have been wondering where he was, and he went off to Italy for a while to just have a break and a change of scene, and then came back and is now fit and back playing and scoring goals and playing very well for Wellington. And I know that when he was here, a lot of people amongst the fan group and that really liked him as a young kid when he was here, and he did his ACL and then he had this, and hopefully now he's got a good run at it. That was probably the good thing for me. Yeah, no, very good. Jaxon, keep us going, mate.
Away from football, Metallica was very good on Saturday night.
Yep.
Had a
that
good
wasn't
spot.
you smoking the wacky weed that everyone was complaining about.
He was on the hash pipe, or he's on the meth pipe.
No, it's not me. No.
False accusations.
Or were you climbing the rafters?
No, that's not me either. I'm not great with heights, so no. I was in the stands. I wasn't in the GA section like you were.
No.
As far as football's concerned, Willa Pearson had a good week. Don't know if you heard the name?
No, explain. Is this the 14-year-old?
This is the 14-year-old who played for Sydney, made her debut. 14 years, 312 days old, and played really well. 9 clearances, 4 tackles, won 5 out of 8 duels, and had the difficult task of facing up against Holly McNamara in her first game, and did really well. Received high praise from Ante Juric post-game, so very impressive. She was the second or third highest rated Sydney player on FootMob, which is impressive for a debutant, a central defender, and 14-year-old. When you combine the whole lot together, it was amazing stuff. And it did also lead to an interesting discussion during the week about how young is too young to be playing professional football. And I've always been of the mindset of, if you're good enough, then you're old enough. But it is interesting, how young can they keep going? Because 14 years old, that's pretty impressive to come in to a pretty strong competition and perform like that straight off the bat.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I did see something that she's now the youngest. So before that, it was Sam Kerr at 15 and how many days?
No, there was someone else.
Was it?
Someone else.
Was it Indiana Dos Santos? Is
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think Isha Brooking was quite young as well.
Is that right?
She's now Glory.
Yeah,
there's a few of them that were early 15s. I think it's too young. I'm going to be the old man and say it's too
young for everyone, or too young for girls or just too young
Blanket?
across the board?
Well, in one sense, it's a bit easier to be younger in the women's game because they start a lot younger generally, right? And their career potentially finishes earlier. They don't play for as long.
Bodies develop sooner and everything like that.
Kids, all that stuff comes, and also maybe a career because they don't get paid enough, right? So there's many reasons why they drift away from the game in their late 20s, early 30s compared to the men. But they're kids. Ultimately, at the end of the day, going into a professional environment, potentially traveling across the country every week.
It's not easy.
And I even think in the men's game, there's players that are going in playing first team football at 15. I mean, maybe they're good enough, but how many of them actually go on to and are looked after properly as well? That's the other thing for me, that they could be a 15-year-old protege, but by the time they're 17 or 18, they're on the scrap heap.
Well, I'll give you one name, and I think you know who I'm going to refer to, and that's Freddie Adu, of course.
Freddie Adu at 13 when he came in MLS. I remember the hype around Freddie Adu and the big thing that he was going to be. And I do wonder at times, is it a case of clubs just competing with each other to get the youngest player in? How young can we go? And look, some cases they may be fine, and that's okay to a point. But I do think there's an element of duty of care, and but maybe it's because there isn't enough good underage competitions, right? We see with the men's in the A League, for example, there's no MYL anymore, right? So if the MPL is finished and the MYL doesn't exist anymore,
what's your alternative?
The first thing,
and there's probably almost a bigger gap in the women's competition as well, because you don't have those kind of. Well, you do have those 18s, 20s, but you don't have those other leagues around it and that bulk. So.
I think 14 is too young for men or women's game. I don't think you should put an arbitrary, put in a absolute. You have to be 17. But at the same time,
common sense.
I think it's a very dangerous burning kids out too young. How much football did they play? 14, 15 years of age. Wayne Rooney was somebody who came in so young at 16 and his body was burnt out by the time he got older. Michael Owen, at 17, hamstrings, the whole lot, and he was finished.
It's funny because we see it in other sports, particularly in the female side. If you look at sports like gymnastics, 12, 13 at the Olympics.
There's also an element of it for me, like let kids be kids. Let them go out and play with their mates and hang around street corners and do all their
and everything else.
Not do method and Metallica gig, but
Jaxon.
But do kid things. Are they taking away some of their childhood that they never get back? Yeah, potentially. I'm not going all Michael Jackson here on it. But you
let them play without any sort of pressure or expectation.
Yeah, let them have fun. Yeah. So I think it's good, but I don't necessarily think it's all roses with these stories when people try and put them out as like PR. It's great for the league. Well, it might be, but is it really good for that individual? I don't know. I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Mr. Renton, keep us going, mate.
The Glory women. There's been a lot of obviously discourse about the Perth Glory men being Scheisenhausen, but the women had a really strong performance and result away against the Western Sydney Wanderers, and they find themselves second on the ladder. And a big reason for why they were so compelling was their two import forwards in Rolla Badawea and Gabby Holler. So Rolla's obviously joined for this season, and I thought she was outstanding, a constant threat, creating lots of chances. Same with Gabby Holler, who had a reasonably decent season last time out. But I think we're starting to see almost the nucleus of potentially what could be a final side for the Glory. I was reading, I think it was on Football 360, they were doing predictions of where every A-League women's team might finish, and there was a consensus that Glory could potentially sneak in to the finals, and I think this was their first away win in some time. I don't have the
I don't think they won away last season, did they?
Yeah, first since December 2023.
That's it, yeah. So it's a significant win, and look, they played with a back three and had no problems, so a bit of a precursor for things to come. But yeah, so they were fantastic, and hopefully they can have a strong performance on Friday against Brisbane.
It's really interesting, and I was listening to the World Football Program on Radio Fremantle the other day, and Greg Farrell was on there, who is now former Subiaco coach, now assistant or helping out Annie, his wife, up there at Sorrento, who have got promoted to the NPL Women's. But they were very... well, I won't say glowing in their praise, but they basically said it's great to see that Stephen Peters is regularly around the NPL competition. I think it's Tiana, his assistant.
Gauchi?
Possibly, yep. Around the local competitions and really trying to embed themselves, something that hasn't been done.
She might have got a community-based role, I think. Recently.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but that's great.
Yeah, so trying to embed themselves in the community a little bit more and really trying to endear themselves and hopefully being out there to catch the next little bit of talent coming through WA. And we know that there's your Ella Lincolns and your Georgia Cassidys and your Grace Johnstons. Ishia Brookings come back to Perth, which is obviously she was a fantastic a player. And touted very, very early as well. And then you've got Muatis, who came through the NTC, went away with the Young Matildas as well. So, look, I'm glad to see that there's a lot of efforts by the Perth Glory to get themselves out in the community and spot this talent very early.
Grace was a standout performer in the game.
Yep,
so
brilliant.
Yeah, says it all.
No, great stuff there. Mine was also the Glory Girls, so we might just might skip me, but it was just fantastic that they could get off to not only a good start and a winning start, but doing that on the road as well is going to set them up nicely for this week. Neil, what's been bad, mate?
The bad for me was the kit selections between the Mariners and Wellington at the weekend. We have released new kits every year. Clubs release 3 different shirts sometimes, and they still manage to get yellow and a dark colour to clash. It's like watching AFL when it's like Geelong and Collingwood or somebody and they just refuse to wear something different. Just don't know how they managed to not realise that there would be an eyesore for 90 minutes. Yes, you can distinguish between the two teams, but it was bloody painful for 90 minutes. Just the stupid optics of it and completely needless. They could find a combination between the two clubs. And this business of having to wear your home kit a certain amount of times because there's a different sponsor to the away kit, which also has to be worn a certain amount of times. And yeah, it's a bit ridiculous with all these combinations and permutations that they have, that they had to get the two that looked absolutely ridiculous. That was bad.
Jackson, what's been bad?
Sticking with the women's game, Mary Earps has been in the news this week. Don't know if you've heard about this. She's releasing her autobiography and she had a few pointed comments to the England coach Serena Wiegman and to Hannah Hampton as well, because the backstory of this goes back to the Euros of 2022, and there was a bit of fracture in the goalkeeping department, and Hampton was dropped for some bad behaviour and disrupting the team environment. She was eventually brought back in about a year later and eventually took Earps' spot as number one. And Mary Earps didn't take that too well. She claimed that Wiegman was rewarding bad behaviour by calling her back in. And the other kicker as well is when she got told that Hampton was going to be the number one for the Euros that just came up, she decided, that's it for me, I'm out of the game and retiring. So, fans have kind of turned on her for being a bit sour and being a bit egotistical. And I'll just read you a little piece that I thought was quite interesting that came out in The Guardian a little bit from her autobiography, where she was talking about some of the talking points from the Women's World Cup in 2023. And she said there were 3 big talking points from it. One was the kiss between Luis Rubiales and Jenny Hermoso, which is a big point. And the next bit here, the other 2 talking points, both related to me. So very me. Yeah. And not a good look for Mary Earps. I would like to hear what Hannah Hampton's side of the story is. But yeah, not great for her.
No. Not at all. My bad, I bashed them a fair bit last season, but Brisbane Roar, I mean, there was all this fanfare about what they were going to be under Michael Valkanis, and I've not liked watching them play. this season. I mean, I've liked the togetherness of how they've wanted to play, and they've brought back the biff a little bit. I mean, we've seen Valkanis have a bit of a sook about, the way that his sides get penalised and others don't in terms of the, how they foul each other. But, if I'm a Brisbane fan and I'm wanting to get, really excited by the actual substance of what Brisbane are delivering, I wouldn't exactly be jumping up and down. I think the big concern for me has been their attack has been quite stale. So a lot of the numbers support that, be it in terms of the average amount of goals they're scoring each game. It's down towards the bottom end of the ladder. The chances that they're creating, the amount of shots that they're having, and the possession as well. They're doing well in terms of their pressing intensity and their willingness to get stuck in, which I'm sure Brisbane fans would have enjoyed seeing given what they've had the last few years. But I think they'd be wanting a little bit more bang for their buck and a little bit more of a proactive game style rather than just reacting and sitting deep and being aggressive within their block. So definitely plenty of work for Michael Valkanis.
Yeah. I've got to admit, we're in a tricky situation at home at the moment because there's a lot going on with the little one, and I haven't seen too much football outside of the Glory at the moment. So I'm going to have to take your word on it, but I'll go back and have a bit of a look. My bad. Look, we just talked about the big effort being made by the Glory girls. Where it's not being made, and this kind of shirts me a little bit, 4 p.m. kickoff on a Friday afternoon. Dumb. We need to be able to, and this is simple stuff where we can give the same amount of respect to our women's programs than we do our men's. 4 p.m. kickoff on a Friday simply isn't doing that. Considering the matches on a Friday evening for the men and there's no football for the rest of the weekend over here in the West, there's no reason except for the broadcasting that this couldn't be on a Saturday or Sunday at Sam Kerr. If Sam Kerr's not available, that it couldn't have been kind of elsewhere. This is where people get a little bit shirty about the respect side of the women's game.
Well, it's valid. It's valid as well because you probably rather would watch the women's team at this point in time compared to the guys.
Yeah. And I mean, even 5 o'clock, just knock back the blokes game. Does it?
People complain about 6:45 kickoffs. They'll lose their shit if it was moved to 7 o'clock.
I mean, but this is part of it. Yeah.
Do it on a Saturday. Do a double header on a Saturday. I mean,
much better idea.
That as well.
Or else play them during school holidays.
Yeah,
because then at least your parents would have kids picked up from daycare or whatever. They could take them to it. But yes, on a Friday of a working week where it's no public holiday, it's a stupid decision. Yeah. And if you're going to do these things, do them on Saturday. Have the women at 4 o'clock on a Saturday. And then if people don't want to stay out because it's too late for a 6:45 kickoff, they can take the kids home to bed after the women's game.
Yeah,
if they really must.
Everyone in bed by 7 o'clock.
So I agree. The Friday 4 o'clock. I mean, because we complain when the men's team plays on a Friday at 4 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Because we can't get to the pub.
Some of
us are working. So to have a home game for either team. If the men were playing at 4 o'clock, I'd be pissed as well. I don't actually think it's about the women as such. I think it's just bad scheduling overall. That to your point about treating them the same, treat the same. If it was a men's game, I'd be pissed as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's stupid.
But the thing is that you wouldn't dare do it for a men's game.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, but nothing would surprise me. But yes, you're less likely. I agree with you.
Yep. Keep us going, mate. Uglies.
Ugly. I actually did some research. They nearly killed me.
Oh,
here we go. My ugly is Perth Glory's home record.
Oh,
so for the men, because we always heard about it's a difficult place to go. You've got the travel, you've got the time zones. It's actually 2 a.m. in New Zealand when the game finishes. We've got all those things. They're all tropes. They all don't exist because coming to Perth is easy points. So in the last 2 seasons plus this season so far, there's been 29 games played at HBF Park in the league. I haven't put the Australia Cup in because that would only depress me further. Glory have taken 28 points from a possible 87. They've won a total of 6 games from 29. So it's dreadful, right? They scored 11 goals here last season, which we know about. And this whole thing about being a fortress and as again, Perth being a difficult place to play, it absolutely has not been. When your away form is so bad as Glory's tends to be, you do rely on your home form to pick up points. And the game against Victory at the weekend was a little taster of that, in the sense of they were just not intimidating in the slightest. And the crowd wasn't particularly up for it because, one, the numbers were low, and two, the crowd responds to what they see on the pitch. And for me, I said last week about having a performance from the players. I thought it was shit. People were saying, "Oh, it was better." Well, being better than a 1 is a 2, right, on a scale of 1 to 10. So if the game against City was a 1, that for me was barely above that, because it was at home, because there was an opportunity to respond with no coach. There were 2 instances that really pissed me off, and the first one was the very end of the first half when Glory got a goal kick and Sutton went to pick the ball up. They were already losing at that stage, and he was asking the ref, is it half time? And he was strolling, and he eventually put the ball down for a goal kick. He must have taken close to 45 to 60 seconds to take a goal kick in injury time at the end of the first half when the team was losing. At least show you give a shit, and at least show that you care. The other one was in about the 85th minute when Scott Wootton got the ball at centre back and lifted his head and was looking for a pass, and nobody wanted the ball at 2-0 down. And he just threw his hands up in the air as if to say, look, what do you want me to do here? I can't just keep pumping it long. There's no accountability from the playing group. There was no urgency in the game at all. And people can say that, yeah, it was better. And maybe it was, but better, again, better than shit is not really
it's not compelling.
Something to aspire to. So I think it just feeds into the fact that, like, if the performances on the pitch are not resonating with the crowd doesn't get up for it. The people don't bother coming, and Perth is a very easy place to come to and get points these days, and the stats back it up. You know, as I said, 28 points from 87 over the past 2 years and a bit is absolutely disgraceful, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed, because it's looking like there's a real disconnect. We did hear, myself and Jaxon, after the game, we were heading down to the press conference, and one lone fan from the shed absolutely hurling abuse at an individual player.
Well, after the game, there wasn't just one, there was
a lot of group.
Quite a few.
Yeah, but this guy that was left was making a point of singling out a player and absolutely ripping into him. And even none of the players went over to the shed after the game. There was none of that, like, you know, no interest, because they probably know what they're going to be on the receiving end of. Again, people said it was better, but for me, like, it wasn't good enough. They had an opportunity to respond, and they barely laid a glove on Victory, apart from the first 10 minutes of the second half. It was crap, and I think, Perth is a very easy place to come, and the Mariners will probably be okay with coming here, even if there is travel, and even if it is a different time zone. So what? We're playing Perth. There's a good chance we're going to get points here.
Yeah, no, I totally take that point.
Can I just add on to those stats that Neil mentioned? So we've played 134 games from the beginning of the 2020-21 season. We've won 29 of those games, and we've conceded, including this season, 266 goals. So we're too soft as a team, we're embarrassing as a team, and we're too easy to play against. And that's been a consistent pattern that even predates this season. And so it was just all the more disappointing that once we had a coach get sacked, that there wasn't enough of a response from the players.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, put in a tackle on somebody, kick someone, you know, look like you really just want to put yourself about in that game. Don't look like you're a soft touch. And I feel that they absolutely come across that way at the moment, unfortunately. And there's been nothing to suggest that that's going to change. I did really enjoy Adam Griffith's press conference after the game. He talked tactically, he talked logically, and he gave honest answers about his intentions and what he was trying to do with the team. But I don't think the players showed up relative to what should have happened at the weekend. And they've another opportunity to do it this week before the international break. And I really hope they take it, because the Mariners at home, again, like Wellington in week one, is a game that Glory should be winning. But do you have any confidence that they will win it? Absolutely not.
See how it all plays out. Jaxon, what's been ugly?
Well, just going off what you said before, I wouldn't mind seeing a bit of the Roy Keane mentality. Just hit somebody, even if it makes them feel better, because I think, we need that bit of aggression. Would be nice, and we were lacking that on the ball. Just to add to the misery, an honourable mention to Brightside Live for their graphics on the big screen. I don't mind the Halloween stuff, but the shed makes some noise. We can't hear you. Leave that for the basketball and other sports. So it just doesn't work for soccer. Doesn't work for the Glory.
I'm going to tell you a quick story. There used to, back in the day in the old hill, there used to be a guy who used to sit up there pressing a button that used to do something similar. Let's just say the shed was about 50 times more raucous than it is now. That guy lasted about a game and a half. I think he was last seen running halfway down Beaufort Street trying to get away from the lynch mob because it was shocking.
It's where football tries to distinguish itself from other sports in that we don't need that to generate our own atmosphere.
No.
But it's creeping in with like goal music, that shits me. Yeah, when a crowd celebrating a goal is drowned out by fucking Chelsea Dagger.
Yeah.
Like that irritates me.
Do you know, I actually saw that at Matilda's game, and as someone who does a little bit of ground announcing and MCs, when the crowd is doing its thing, let the crowd do their thing. You don't want to compete with that. You don't need to enhance that. Let it
don't make it artificial.
Because we got exactly the same when the Matildas were here and we had the ground announcer going, make some noise. We freaking are making noise. Like, there was just no need for it whatsoever. Yep. So that was my little gripe on that, but carry on, Jaxon.
Yeah, my ugly this week, and they were my good last week. They were the Jets. Because as good as they are going forward, defensively, Jets. Jesus Christ, they were shocking. They got so easily exposed on turnover against Sydney, and credit to Alassane Toure for making them pay and scoring 3, but that's going to be something that they need to really focus on, because as good as it is, scoring lots of goals and being fun to watch, if you cannot defend and keep teams out, then you are not going to make finals. And they're a team that I like watching. I hope they do well, but they need to fix that.
Well, they set themselves up for failure because Tale mentioned in his press conference, we know their fullback's position quite high. The moment that we win the ball back after being in a block, we know that we can transition with a 3-on-2.
Yeah, and it's exactly how it played out.
Keep us going, James.
Well, I'm kind of going a little bit from last week, but it carries over. Since I wasn't here last week and the sacking of David Zdrillic occurred, the Melbourne victory game, just how disappointed I was that we saw a little bit of a shift in terms of behaviours and habits from what Adam Griffiths was wanting from the players versus what David Zdrillic had been wanting from the players from the last year. My ugly was just the waste of a pre-season that we've had without having a proper head coach who has a cohesive model of play and thinking, what could this team be? What could this team have been, rather, stylistically speaking? Because I think if you had a proper head coach, and we made the call at the end of last season, and you had a head coach that had the whole of pre-season, they're now not going to be, well, if a new head coach comes in, they're going to have to deal with the staff, etc., and the squad that's not theirs. But I would have loved to have seen what this squad could have done this season in particular, with a proper head coach that understands how can this team play on the ball, how is this team going to be off the ball, what are they going to be like in those transition moments, because I saw us trying to do some things that we hadn't seen for a long time, like those combination plays. But even Griffo mentioned it in the post-game presser, like we don't have belief as a group, and we've not had those situations, particularly in terms of combination play, where we've done that frequently. A lot of our attack has just been long ball, inshallah, hoof ball, hopefully Tags can do something against 3-4 defenders. We've not had a lot of a method to how we've played, so that was the ugly for me.
They're afraid to play passes,
100%
through the lines, and that was obvious. There was two things that stood out for me, along with James's point about the wasted preseason. One was the very, very rarely heard from Jason Bontempo on Twitter, saying that he hopes that David Zdrillic goes to an environment that suits him. Wasn't this environment created for David Zdrillic?
Yes.
As in, the players were recruited for his style of football. He was brought in to have his style implemented at the club. He had the support staff to come in and do that with him. But how the hell does the vice chairman say that he hopes Zdrillic goes off to an environment that suits him? Well, did you get that wrong here? You brought this guy in. He was your man, as in your group's man, your ownership's man.
Gave him 3 windows.
And
it's an admission they got it wrong.
So that irked me. The second one is Adam Griffiths immediately identifying that the group is not built for a 3 at the back system, and saying after the game that I believe this squad is built to play 4 at the back. Well, then what the fuck was Zdrillic saying? If his assistant is immediately coming in and going, I've been working with these guys in pre-season, my first game in charge, we are scrapping that 3 at the back nonsense and we're going with a 4. We're going to play 4-4-2. That's what this squad is. So where did Zdrillic think that it was a 3? Yeah. I mean, maybe Griffiths is wrong and they're not built for 4, but it was very telling for me that his 2IC... The difference
in what he was also wanting, though, in terms of the instructions for the players and the behaviours and the principles, that would have been evident regardless of formation. So the fact, and he did say like he felt that the 4-4-2 could allow us to exploit pockets a little better within his idea of football. But I just think his idea of football was, even as a rough idea, was far more coherent than what we saw at any point last season or at this point under Zdrillic this season.
Absolutely, and I think that's
a scary thing.
We could see, as much as I've been critical, it did look like that they were set in blocks to defend a certain way in a 4-4-2, and they looked to pick up the ball. The issue for me was the players, and I did ask him afterwards about confidence, playing those passes between the lines to allow them to break forward. There was myself and Jaxon were nearly tearing our head out at the amount of times Brian Kaltak would not pass right. Would not, and the people in front of us were losing their shit.
Was that more about keeping possession though? I mean,
because Shamoon was playing a lot higher on the right side than Risdon was on the left, so it was a bit more of an ambitious ball to find him.
Yep.
Whereas going left from Wootton to Risdon was maybe a 10-yard pass. It was probably double the distance on the other side. He'd clearly been given a license to go forward, but even he threw his hands up, Shamoon did, in the first half, because he just was getting in the position. He was open to go down the line, and he just would not be given the ball, and they were just afraid to play that pass.
Because we've never worked on it. That's the thing. It just it's so apparent we never worked on it.
Senior players should be able to play.
They should be able to, but those predetermined combinations and ideas, we've clearly not worked on.
Your right-sided centre back playing to your right back is one of the most basic combinations.
Absolutely.
So I don't excuse it in the sense of when the option was clearly on that there was nobody pressing. It was the left side, I think it was Grimaldi had tucked inside. It was a simple out ball to the right back who could then turn and face forward, and he just kept going left. And even the members in front of us were losing their shit. Just give him the fucking ball by half time. They just had seen enough of it.
Yeah.
So if it comes down to confidence, good job getting that confidence back, because it doesn't come overnight.
Yep. Boys, I've got an ugly, but it's a bit of a sensitive one, and it was flagged by a few people at the Bayswater game on the weekend, and it's around the use of politically charged, intentionally provocative slogans on banners by particularly the Sydney United fans. Zadom Spremni translates basically to homeland ready, and I guess there's nothing wrong with that terminology when you look at it at face value. However, when you look at it with a hugely historical lens, it is highly offensive due to its intrinsic link with the fascist regime throughout the 1940s and the heavily Nazi-linked regime there, which played a huge role in genocidal activity and against different and several ethnic and religious minorities. But in 2025, I'd like to think that we've come a lot further with this, with the education and intelligence to know that it's probably not a path that we want to go down in Australian football. We've seen the bad old days and how these, as I said, intentionally provocative, I believe, slogans can infest, particularly in local football clubs. And what I don't want to do is discourage people from embracing and celebrating their ethnic heritage, but I think we have to be careful that we are drawing a line here, not only for the sake of these clubs, but the sake of the Australian Championship, which is already under a heavy microscope, but ultimately Australian football and what it can grow to be.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a concerning one, but I do find it a little bit ugly, and there was people who flagged it with me, numerous people who flagged it with me on the weekend and said, look, this isn't something that we want to see at our clubs. As I said, it is a sensitive issue, and people probably say you don't know what you're talking about and everything else like that, but I think it needed to be flagged.
I don't think it's a sensitive issue at all. It's right wing.
I guess it's sensitive. It's sensitive in the fact that different people have different interpretation on how that's used, because that's actually been argued in courts. Josip Simonic actually got done for bringing up this in chance and everything else like that. So in that respect, I think it is a little bit sensitive, but I totally agree with you where you're coming from, and it is heavily linked to fascist and neo-Nazi and Nazi ideology.
Let's not beat around the bush. There are elements of people who think that way in those clubs.
Yeah.
And they can hold those beliefs if they want in their own heads and be that way inclined. But don't bring it to the football pitch. So and the response will be quite simply, well, you dirty lefties have your pride flag and your rainbow laces and everything else that goes with it. The difference is those sentiments are about inclusion. The other ones are absolutely not.
Yeah,
they're the exact opposite. They're about persecution.
Yeah.
So I think there's a massive fundamental difference between the two. So I would like to see it. Take the banners off them. And don't let them into the games.
Yeah.
The problem is, do you have enough security to do that sort of thing at the Australian Championship? A lot of his volunteers. Do they really want to get into an argument with people who are probably going to get quite aggressive and angry if that situation unfolds? I think, and look, it's a fine line between taking these things off them and going back to the no ethnic clubs and rename your club.
We don't want to do that.
Absolutely not.
Want to do
absolutely
that.
not, because the connection between the clubs is and the heritage is there. There are people that that are born in Australia, whose parents were born in Australia, but they still see themselves as Croatian, right? Or they still see themselves as Serbian,
Italian, Greek, whatever.
All of that, and that's what that's fine. That's what they do, and that's what they celebrate, their culture. But celebrating a culture in that way, is a little bit weird to me. I don't really see it as the right thing to do. So I think you can absolutely call it out for what it is, because it's been called out. Sydney United have been called out numerous times. They've been called out at games. They've been called out for having Nazi salutes in an Australia Cup game, right? So, it's not their first rodeo. It's not like my hand slipped and I went full Elon Musk and put it above my head. These are intentional gestures. They know what they're doing. So they can play dumb and innocent all they want, but we know what they're doing. So I think it's great when you see the ethnic clubs play against each other and you can see the passion and everything that comes with it. But why it needs to go down that road of fascism and everything else that comes with it, I think that there's a line, and the line is what should be policed. Simple. And there's no issue calling that out. If anybody has a problem with that, well then probably people that don't really want to associate with football matches anyway. So,
would you go as far as like docking points or issuing fines? Is that a good enough deterrent?
No, I think it needs to come back down to
Sydney United have no points to deduct.
That's true.
But I think it needs to come back to the clubs and the leaders at the clubs to say, because let's be honest, this will be coming from majority young men, and it needs that leadership within the elders, if you like, in the clubs to be able to say, hold on, this probably isn't right, lads. You're not doing the best by the game. You're not doing the best by our club here.
Yes, but if they wanted to get rid of it, they would have.
Well, this is the other side of it. So
there's absolutely an element of, we're just going to turn a blind eye to that because we probably lean a little bit that way ourselves.
And it possibly is in the too hard basket, because I mean, how do you deal with it? Anyway, I wanted to bring that up. I thought it was a little bit of an ugly side of the game.
We'll probably get hammered on the socials.
Yeah, no, I think that we will.
By people with profiles hidden and dogs as their picture and everything else. There's just a few quick ones off the socials. A good, bad, and ugly. Goods from David Ryan. Glory girls and Baysy flying the flag for WA, and the Glory men at least trying something different. The bad, different approach, same result for Glory. Ugly, the weather at and after the game reflected the general mood of the few people watching. Downpour was hectic.
Shithouse.
Another good from Gavin. Baysy win. Bad, Glory not announcing the return of
Stanger.
Ugly, the absolute shit that was served up on Friday night. Jack Trinidad. Glory, women's was good. They won away. Bad, Taggart had his worst game ever. And ugly, any goals would be nice for Glory. One more that is here on the old Twitter machine. Our friend Matt Olsen, he's back. Good ALW team, Bayswater, and Glory sister club Catania maintaining their promotion push. Bad, rinse and repeat for the A-League men, and 4 o'clock the ugly 4 p.m. kickoff that we already touched on.
We've already said about that as well. Big thank you to everyone for sending those through. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to take a deep dive into possible coaching candidates for the Glory. We'll do that next.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes just a sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Tired of the same old cookie-cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
Welcome back to the Far Post Perth, presented by ID Athletic and Trio Homes. Gentlemen, a big week last week, and I guess there's been a few murmurs in the background as far as looking for a replacement for David Zdrillic. Now, the big news, it has been reported that John Aloisi has apparently said thanks but no thanks to the opportunity to head west, but there's still a fair kind of contingent that could possibly be in this window. Now, what I wanted to do was just categorize this, and we're going to go through who we think will get the job, who we would individually like to get the job, and maybe some dark horses that maybe are a little bit out of left field. So John Aloisi said no. Then other names include Ross Aloisi, Patrick Kisnorbo, Nick Montgomery, John Anastasiadis. So that's probably your big five there. Others mentioned include Peter Klomovsky, who's currently head coach of the Malaysian national team. Matt Sparrow's been mentioned locally. Alan Van Nels has been mentioned locally. Chris Coyne has been mentioned. Gents, any others that, don't give me away your left fielders, but that's pretty much the bulk of them, isn't it, I think?
I'd agree with that.
Yep. So let's go this way this time, Matt Renton. Who do you think?
Matt Renton.
Oh, sorry, Matt Renton. Matt Olsen, Matt Renton. James Renton.
Shit.
Matt Renton. It's when Matt Olsen and James Renton get married. Let's go on with who you think will get the job.
Oh, boy. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to Ross Aloisi.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Anything that's pushing you in that direction?
Couldn't
get John. We'll go for Ross.
I think perhaps it's maybe that, but I think it's also how attainable is someone like Nick Montgomery. How would the potential appointment of someone like Patrick Kisnorbo be received by Perth Glory members and fans and the players and staff? And with Ross Aloisi, look, I know that there's kind of that similar narrative, or the optics at least, where, well, you've just sacked an assistant turned head coach and you're going to bring in an assistant turned head coach. But I think I've heard a lot of really strong feedback about Ross Aloisi, a lot of positive feedback in terms of how he is as a coach. No doubt he's a hard ass, but the job that he did at Brisbane was, I imagine Glory would have been impressed by that, or they would be impressed by that. And the fact that he's been involved in a very successful environment with Kevin Muscat in Shanghai, the amount that he would have learnt there, if he was to come back to the A-League and become a head coach, perhaps that might be something that's a little bit more appealing and, I guess, more practical for them. So that's who I think they might end up going with.
Jaxon, who do you think will get the job?
I think Kisnorbo will get the nod. I think he's the favourite at the moment.
Why Kisnorbo?
As in why I think he'll get it?
Yeah.
I think his record in the A-League speaks for itself. If they want a proven manager in the league, then he's probably the best one out there. If I was picking, I'd be leaning more toward Montgomery, but as James mentioned, that he seems a bit more unattainable. So I think Kisnorbo is one that he fits the bill of that proven manager, but he's also in the window and more attainable for us to get. My only worry about Kisnorbo is that he left Victory early on when he got a better job elsewhere, and his 2 roles have been at Victory and City, who are 2 of the biggest clubs. So I don't know how well he would go at a club that's looking to try and get back into the fold. I think Montgomery's a better suited one for that because he was at the Mariners and brought them back or got them to be at the top level. So I think he'd be a bit more suited to that, but my gut says that Kisnorbo will be the one that they go for in the end.
Mr. Sherwin, who do you think will get the job?
Who is the cheapest?
Is that what it's going to come down to, do you feel?
I think the fact that they said that they can't bring in their own staff is a huge thing because people will want their own group around them. It's weird that you would just get rid of Zdrillic and let everybody else stick around. That to me suggests they can't afford to pay them all off, so they're all going to be here, and whoever comes in has to work with them. So whoever is happy to work with, maybe they can bring in an assistant. Potentially.
Ben Smith, I think, suggested that in his article that there's scope for an assistant, and that's it.
And that's it. You're working with someone else's. So that's where I'm half joking, half serious. With that said, I think that's why it's potentially someone like Ross Aloisi over Kisnorbo, for example. Aloisi doesn't have the credits in the bank as a head coach for a long period of time. He could see that as being the trade-off that, look, I'm going to get a head coaching gig. There's a few people that won't touch it because they don't get to bring their staff in. If I'm prepared to compromise that, I can get that A-League head coaching job that I have wanted, if that's his mindset. So, or you then look at someone from the NPL, whether that's WA or beyond, because they might just be happy to get an A-League gig and they'll just come into it. I don't think it's a healthy way to look at it, but I think it's a realistic one given what Glory have said. Are we talking about who we would like to win it, or are we going to come back to that?
No, we'll come who
back.
You think.
Beautiful. So I think I will go with Ross Aloisi based on the current situation and what we know about Glory here.
Yeah, I've kind of gone through this list on who do I think will get the job, and I've just kind of done some deductions there. John Aloisi's out. Ross Aloisi, I'm not sure. Patrick Kisnorbo, would he want to come back is the question that I'd ask around that. Nick Montgomery, very, very similarly. Would he want to come back? John Anastasiadis, when is he available? Would he be willing to leave Heidelberg, possibly on set, to win the championship, to come to over here? He has said that he wants to coach at a higher level. So what that looks like, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I kind of just penciled it in Kisnorbo because it was just the kind of one that was next cab off the rank, considering they missed John.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. Who would you like to get the job and why?
I hope Nick Meredith's in the comments. I think PK could be the culture shock that we need.
Yeah.
I know I said on a previous pod on a different channel that Nick Montgomery would be a good option, but I think in terms of a culture shock that could possibly work, I think Paddy Kisnorbo. You know, when you talked, Neil, about how there wasn't that sort of urgency within the game, particularly against Melbourne Victory, and just how players were taking too long, PK wouldn't put up with that crap. He's someone that, look, we can talk about the fact that he's a polarising character. How he bailed from Melbourne Victory wasn't good. I can't see CFG, because we've got to remember the context. Yokohama and Trois are both with CFG. I can't see CFG offering him another gig overseas, and I think PK, if he wants to get back into coaching, you know, he would want to get an opportunity as soon as he could, probably, and I don't think there's been many offers for him. So perhaps Perth, being on the other side of Australia, might be the best fit for him. He does have a good record in the A-League. He's been involved in high-performance environments. So, look, for as much as he might be a bit abrasive, I think in terms of someone that's coming in with high standards, understands what a good team looks like, I think that it's something that, you know, we should consider. It could all blow up and all go to shit, but I reckon it's a gamble that we should at the very least consider.
We kind of had a conversation a bit earlier on before we switched on the microphones, and I said, look, I'm unsure what kind of coach they are looking for. Are they simply looking for someone to come in and steady the ship, Or are they looking for someone to really do a full 360 on this club and get them
Well, 360 would have us back where we are.
Well, 180.
You don't need a 360.
I failed maths.
Definitely don't need a 360.
But you know what I meant.
I do.
Turn this club around totally. And, and start pushing for that top 4 title contender over a 5-year period.
I just don't think you sack David Zdrillic 2 games in and end up with someone like John Anastasiadis or like a lower tier coach, with the greatest respect to those coaches, because I think for as much as the decision to sack Zdrillic was weird 2 games in after backing him that heavily, it's a strong indication from the club that they believe internally that they've got a good enough squad and it has to be making the finals.
Yeah, Jaxon, who would you like to get the job?
I think I said before Montgomery would be my choice.
Yeah.
But I do think Kisnorbo will get it. I think he's more like Popper in terms of that, like, hard man, and like he'll come in and he won't take any shit. Like, this will be the standard that you want. And based on what Radic said about them wanting to still pursue finals, then I think he's probably the better option at getting an instant turnaround. I think Montgomery would be more of a long-term, just get this season right and then look to build from there on in.
Yep. Mr. Sherwin, who would you like to get the job?
I don't want the sugar hit. I don't want an instant turnaround, because it just goes to shit, right? Like, we had the sugar hit with Popovic, and again, Kisnorbo probably is similar in that, not particularly personable with media and doing stuff like that, and you're not going to get that. And I like the Montgomery idea because he managed in a community club where you had to be nice around families and you had to be very, very impressionable with people and just be a nice guy as well as being a hard ass and a coach, right? You know, we need a coach who's going to be here. We've gone through so many managers. I just feel like Kisnorbo would be the sugar hit that lasts 18 months and then we go back to square one again. Everybody's burned out from dealing with him for 18 months. And players, and that's what happened to Popovic. The players ran through a wall for him for the first season. Yeah. And then after that, slowly but surely, jaded and tired, and it all unravelled, and we were left to pick up the pieces when he left.
Yeah.
So I feel like Kisnorbo's potential to be another. I want something that we can get behind as long term, and that's what we were sold with Zdrillic, right? He was going to come in, first time coach, and he was going to build something here. I actually like that idea. It just needs to be the right person. Montgomery has played in the league relatively recently. He's coached in the league recently. He's had success in the league. Okay, Hibs wasn't amazing, but he's been an assistant now in the Premier League. He's won something, the Europa. Maybe he's got a decent network of players to bring in as well. So yeah, I think having some... I don't want the sugar hit. I want a coach that's going to be here for 2, 3, 4 years, work with younger players. Everybody keeps saying, let's get West Aussies in the team. Yeah, he's had to do that with the Mariners. Yeah. Get Labib in the team, get Vajeka Dumley more minutes, play Freeney. Yeah. Do a little bit. I'd rather do that and be shit for a year or so, but look like we're doing a Mariners style approach and maybe eventually win something. Because, no disrespect to the Mariners, but Glory should be a far bigger club than the Mariners because of the catchment, because of the one city, one club in the city. Yeah. The Mariners are always going to be competing against Sydney and Wanderers down the road and the Jets and everything else. We've got clean air where it can just be Glory, and somebody to come in and be a figurehead for that as a coach and as a good ambassador for the club is far more important for me than getting in a sugar hit 12 months or 18 months where we might win something, but
depends if we can entice Monty. That's the big thing.
Even if it's not him, someone of that ilk, rather than someone who's going to come in and just tell everyone their shit, kick their arses and then leave.
And then leave. It's all too hard. That's what concerns me a little bit with someone like Nick Montgomery, because it's clear that he's got bigger ambitions. So I don't see him being for 3 or 4 years if he does come back. I can see probably 2 years maximum before, hey, I'm going to put my best foot forward, but I want to get a decent job overseas.
Well, we see that now in the A-League even. It can be argued that it's hard to have long-term sustained success because of the nature of the salary cap and just some coaches, there's that fatigue among fans. So I guess we kind of need to cash in as best we can.
Other than that, I agree wholeheartedly with you.
Yeah, there's some strong points.
Yep. No, some really strong points. And that's why I kind of settled on Nick Montgomery for that matter. I have spoken to people that have suggested maybe he's a little bit too nice, but maybe that's what
he was
you
a
need.
dirty bastard as a player. So I actually don't have an issue with that. He's not afraid to put the boot. He was never afraid to put the boot in.
No.
If it's not him, somebody of that.
Yep.
John Hutchinson, someone like that as well. Who's had experience in the US. There are names that could come in where you could build something behind. I just don't want that 12 months.
Well, let's go through some of those names because there's some dark horses out there, and I've got a dark horse, but I'm going to let you guys go first because dark horses.
Pete Klimovsky.
As a dark horse?
Yeah.
Because I don't think he is a dark horse.
I think he's someone that's kind of under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
I think not a lot of people would have known what
obviously was Andrews 2IC at
the
Marinos.
The Socceroos as well for a long period of time, and was there at Marinos, and then he worked his way through the ranks in Japan. He had a fairly good record with the club in J2, and then in J1 had a fairly decent record, had them playing some good football, and currently with Malaysia, he's got them absolutely pinging it, and they look pretty good. And I think in terms of that kind of outside the box kind of thinking, perhaps the Glory could consider that, because I guess there'd also be that sort of fatigue of, oh, here we go, the recycling bin, you're going to get what, Kisnorbo, oh, that's not going to appease everyone.
Yep.
So something new in the sense of Klimovsky, because I'm not sure if he sees the Malaysian national team as a long-term objective for him.
I don't think it is.
Maybe coming back to Australia and we try and see someone that can implement a brand of football and has done so for a few years, at least in Japan, with varying levels of players. Perhaps that could work at Perth Glory, and I think, Pete, maybe he's someone that we should be looking to try and tap up if we can.
Yep, dark horse there. Jaxon, who is your dark horse to take over the Glory?
Well, mine was kind of ruined because I was going to say Mark Jaxon, but he took a job in Thailand a couple of weeks ago. But I've got a different idea based on what you were saying. If we're thinking about long-term planning, if you bring in someone like Montgomery, and you're only worried he's going to be here 1 or 2 years, then isn't that perfect for someone like Adam Griffiths to learn under him for a couple of years and then do some sort of succession plan? So then that way you get your short term with Montgomery or Kisnorbo or whoever, but then you already have planned for the future and you have a new coach waiting to take.
I think
take
that makes perfect sense.
So that's my
providing Adam Griffiths is willing to do that for as long, because I mean, do you get to a point that, hold on a second, something comes up?
Well, he's been assistant at Western Sydney under Roods. He's been assistant at Wellington under Giancarlo Italiano, and he's been assistant now here for a bit. So I'm sure he'd be wanting to become a head coach ASAP.
Yeah, no, interesting. Dark horse, Neil Sherwin.
Griffiths is my dark horse for now.
Yeah.
Because Glory have a history of appointing the assistant of the sacked head coach.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, the cheap option. He's already in the building. If the players like him, and they'll just say, well, we'll give him till the end of the season. I could see that the worldwide search ends up on the doorstep again. I genuinely could, and potentially like not saying Chris Coyne, but someone like a Chris Coyne comes in and assists him, and he steps up to be the head coach, and then you get in an ex-Glory player. Maybe Stan becomes assistant manager.
Neil Kilkenny,
but somebody like that. Yeah, I think Neil Kilkenny's probably doing too well for himself with the Football West gigs, and why would he leave that for the basket case? But yes, exactly. Someone like that. Ruben's available, but I could see that Adam Griffiths is promoted, and the softening of that message is we're giving him a Graham Arnold.
Mate, I'd love it.
No,
I would love it.
Absolutely not.
Because I think if there's anyone that's going to turn this club around,
No, but Adam Griffiths is head coach with Graham Arnold as director of football. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I've called for it for a while now, so there you go. I've got a real dark horse here, boys. And I've been thinking about this for a while, and I guess cut from the same cloth in a way as a few of the others. Hasn't had a great time in coaching, but I reckon
I'm sold.
Well, but I reckon if it was offered, he'd jump at it. And that's Harry Kewell.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I reckon he's currently in the Vietnamese.
You're a Leeds fan. What is your thought? What are your thoughts on Harry Kewell?
I love him as an Australian player. I loved him at Leeds. Hated what he did. Yeah.
So have you been smoking the weed from the Metallica concert?
No. As I said, a dark horse. He knows Stan. He knows Bresh. He knows Grella well. He's in the Aloisi, all cut from the same cloth.
Welcome to the boys' club.
He's not a good coach.
I'm not saying that. I literally prefaced what I just said.
When has that been part of the criteria?
But what I'm saying is if he's thrown his hat into the ring, he will be considered because it's Harry Kewell.
Do you think he'll be interested?
Well, he's just joined a club in Vietnam, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's in Vietnamese Premier League at the moment, sitting in third, I think.
I nothing would shock me.
No. This is another part of it. Nothing would shock.
I don't think anything is off the table here.
Well, we don't know what their criteria is specifically and who's actually coming together.
Ross could be scouring the third division of Italian football for a coach.
Bring the Catania coach.
Bring in the Juventus bloke who was sacked.
Igor Tudor. No.
Bring Ange.
No, I was going to say, during they put feelers out.
Yeah, nothing is off the table at all, and people go Harry Kewell, but then the more you think about it, well, they could actually probably do that.
Yeah,
and
that's what I mean.
There's no surprise. And I think your boys club thing would possibly still. Is there anyone else from that golden generation who's coached? Mark Schwartz was in town the other day.
Yeah, he was doing the Chelsea convention.
Is there anyone else from that squad who's got coaching badges?
Oh, there probably would be.
Scott Chipperfield,
Skoko. Was Skoko doing something or Ocon?
Yeah,
there's
Paul Ocon.
Yeah, he's another one.
So anyone just go through that. Put that team photo on the board.
World Cup.
Throw a dart,
and that's who it's
whichever one you land on is the one that comes in as the next.
Another one, Tony Vidmar.
Yeah,
Tony Vidmar's another one. Yep.
Trevor Morgan, I'd rather him.
Yep. So there we go. We've given us our views. You can feel free to throw a few of your views on the social media. We're going to take a quick break and we'll wrap things up in the far post right after this.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Tired of the same old cookie cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service, and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
Final part of the Far Post Perth podcast as we have a bit of a look at the, what else is happening in the football world? Australian Championship, Bayswater City, boys, look set to...
Congrats.
Yeah.
Big win.
Top of their group at the moment, aren't they? I think they are.
I think they are.
Yeah. So
3-2.
So Metro Stars this week, and then Apia away.
Yeah, 2 away games to come.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
they've got some cash in the bank.
They get a point.
So.
Metro Stars is the only one that can challenge them.
Yeah.
To not go through. So a point on the road is enough for them to get through, and then.
But you want to finish top. They're in a great spot to finish top.
Yeah, and because you want to get that other home game. But big good luck to everyone down there at Bayswater. Jaxon, take us very, very quickly through the A-League women from the weekend. Sorry, mate, I put you under the cosh there. But what we can say is it started with a brilliant 3-1 win for the Perth Glory girls against the Wanderers on Friday. What else did we see?
I just had it up, annoyingly. But I know there was the 2-2 with Sydney FC and Melbourne City. And we also saw Brisbane beating Melbourne Victory 3-2 as well.
Yep.
Which is a pretty good result. I know the Mariners had a win. I'm just getting the fixtures up now.
First, I think so. Yeah, Mariners.
Yep.
Yeah, it was annoying. It would have been nice to see Glory on top. But no,
they have a go this week because they take on... Oh, no, who do they play this
week?
Brisbane, yeah.
Yep.
And then the Jets had a win against Canberra away. So a good away win for the Jets. And, Glory second and, good chance to go two from two. Home game.
Yep.
And, Yeah, I'd back them against Brisbane.
Good luck to Stephen Peters and the crew and all the Glory Girls. 2 in the bank. That'd be outstanding to start the season. Round 4 of the A-League men's. Boys round the table. We'll get some tips. Adelaide host the Wanderers, Mr. Sherwin.
I think draw.
Draw. Jaxon?
Wanderers.
James? Wanderers. Yep. Okay. I'm gonna go draw. Perth v Central Coast.
I can't tip Glory at the moment, so draw.
Draw.
Fuck it, we're going to win.
Draw for me. Wellington v Auckland. It is the Battle of NZ.
I want to tip another draw, but I'll go Auckland narrowly 2-1.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be a cracker.
Yeah, I'll keep backing Auckland, and I think that they haven't lost in this fixture. They didn't lose last year, so they'll continue their dominance.
Draw.
Auckland for me. Melbourne Victory v Melbourne City.
Even though Victory were played into form, because that's what happens at the moment when you play Glory, I think City are a better team, although Leckie is injured, isn't he?
I'm not sure.
Off the weekend.
Yeah.
I think City are the better team. I'm still not convinced about Victory. They were a soft touch at the back, and Glory didn't put them under enough pressure.
Yep, no, didn't put them to the sword at all, Jaxon.
City to win, multiple red cards.
Ooh.
Draw.
Yeah, City for me. And another derby in Sydney FC taking on Macarthur.
Sydney.
Macarthur for me. Brisbane v Newcastle.
I think Newcastle have more goals in them, so they'll win.
Yeah, up and down like a bride's nighty at the moment, Newcastle. I just don't know which one's going to show up.
Real attacking team versus real boring team. Jets.
Brisbane to get a 1-0 win.
Yeah, I could see that.
Just shithouse it.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm going to go for Newcastle in that one. Boys, just wrap the things up. No burning questions this week, but a big thank you to you guys for jumping on board with us. Don't forget,
one burning question.
One burning question. Go.
Can Glory give us a performance before the international break?
All right.
It's quite simple one. Can we get a performance out of them?
Yep. And what does it look like coming out of it? All right, we'll wrap things up there. Big thank you to Neil Sherwin, to Jaxon Bassett, and to James Renton. And don't forget, you can grab the podcast on Spotify, on Apple, and YouTube Music. And we'll see you next Tuesday for more on the Far Post Perth podcast.